The murder trial of Ian Watkins, which is ongoing at the moment, just gets more bizarre by the day. Now, one of the prisoners who is alleged to have stabbed him when he has already actually admitted to it in court, even though he's pleading not guilty to murder, he's actually admitting to it. A prisoner who stabbed Lost Prophets frontman Ian Watkins to death has told the court he muttered the words, "This is what pedos deserve," before slashing his throat. Now, we all know, because I've covered the case on here, about Ian Watkins when he was murdered inside of HMP Wakefield, also known as Monster Mansion, on the 11th of October last year. Now, these two individuals are on trial for his murder, and I did cover it the other day when Samuel Dodsworth, the rapist, has already given his evidence at the trial, and I did cover it when I'm talking about what he is trying to say as his defence, and we can tell he's being used as an absolute weapon. But we don't care, because he's a fucking bacon, and it is exactly what he deserves as well. But Rio Gadell has been given evidence. Now, Rio Gadell isn't a bacon. He's 25-year-old, and he's in prison for a gang-related murder. So when I've been reading up on this, I was thinking to myself, why have you bothered taking it to trial when you're standing there in the witness box blatantly telling the jury that you've done it? But I will tell you the reasons why he's took it to trial, and I'm going to go over some of his evidence when he was in the witness box yesterday, which was Wednesday. And like I say, he's trying to get off with murder, and maybe he's trying for a manslaughter. But I would have thought it would have been on not guilty on the grounds of diminished responsibility, but these are the grounds he's saying. So, given evidence at Leeds Crown Court, Rio Gadell said he hated sharing a wing with bacons at the jail and had openly threatened to assault any number of pedos if he was not transferred. Gadell and his co-accused Samuel Dodsworth have both denied murder and possession of a makeshift knife in prison. So during the hearing, Gadell said he had decided to stab someone in order to get moved off the wing, and chose Watkins, who was in the cell next to him, due to the proximity of the closeness. Now, I have done videos previously where prisoners have actually done acts like this, scalded people, tipped hot boiling hot oil over people just to get moved. Gary Vintner stamped all over another bacon just to get moved prisons. He nearly killed him inside a prison. He ended up with another sentence, but he was doing life without parole anyways. But the defendant in this case said he felt he had been set up by prison officers who knew how much he hated bacons, and said they were just as much to blame as I am. Now, just the day before he got moved onto the wing with Watkins, he attacked 3 of the inmates, 3 of the bacons. So, maybe they do this on purpose, because look at what they done with Bob Maudsley when they put him in Wakefield prison, when they knew he had a history of killing bacons. Is this the same in this instance? Did they want Watkins off just as much as the general public? And this is their way of committing murder without actually committing it. So Gadell also said Watkins had used racial slurs to him the night before the fatal attack, after he started verbally abusing him through the cell walls. Now, I did do a video when I was talking about this, and I was saying, is the reason he done it is because he lived in the pad next door to him, and Watkins might have been that out of his nut, he left his telly blasting all night, which absolutely infuriates prisoners, as I know from first-hand experience of being in the high security prison. And a lot of people have been commenting on inboxing and saying the scene is on the Channel 5 documentary last night about HMP Franklin, which is also known as Monster Mansion. So yes, I have first-hand experience of being on a normal wing when inmates are blasting the music or got the tellies on through the night. In the morning when the doors are open, yes, they get served up, they get battered, they get bashed, and they get moved or shitted up in some cases. So he told jurors he had a hatred of Bacon's because he had family members who had been sex assaulted, adding it's something people live with for the rest of their lives. Gadell said he made a point of finding out who the Bacons were on his wing when he was moved to HMP Wakefield. Well, it wouldn't have took long because the prison is 2/3 Bacon's nonsense. He said he had only had 3 interactions with Watkins, including one when they were on the same wing earlier that year when he verbally abused the former singer through his cell door. He told the court Watkins had racially abused him in response. Gadell said he was moved back onto the same wing as Watkins the night before the fatal attack after he assaulted 3 prisoners on another wing, claiming one of them was selling baby photos and boasting about being a Bacon. Gadell said that on the morning of the attack, he was given a makeshift knife by Dodsworth after telling him he needed a weapon. Now this, people, Gadell is in prison for gang-related murder. Yes, he's living on a wing full of Bacons, but he is now stitching Dodsworth up. Dodsworth's a fucking rapist, so we don't care anyway. But does this come into play as being called a snitch? He's saying Dodsworth gave him the knife after he asked him, saying he needed a weapon. You're in jail, you've still got a code of conduct, but yet you're grassing another prisoner up. Yes, he's a dirty fucking hairy rapist, but I don't know, leave that up to the viewer's imagination and ex-inmates who watch me channel. What do you think about that? There was no other option than to cause violence to get off the wing. Gadell told the court he felt sad about having to go to these extremes, asked his barrister Peter Molson KC if he wanted to kill Watkins. Gadell said, "Some part of me did, yes." Gadell told the court, sometimes what we are thinking is not what we intend to do. Sometimes what your heart wants is not what your brain wants. I don't think much, I'm not a thinker. Sometimes my impulse is not what I want. My heart was saying he deserves it, he's a Bacon. Think of your family members, think of his victims. My brain was saying it's not the thing to do. So you must get a not guilty for that. Gadell said he believed he was set up because prison officers knew I was a violent person. Well, you're in for murder, so I think everybody knows you're a violent person. I was going to commit this act, and they knew I was going to commit this act. I'm not here to prove my innocence. I admit to what's happened. Whether that was intention or not, I take full responsibility for what's happened. But the prison officers are just as much to blame as I am. Well, you're not doing yourself any favours, as I know, talking from an ex-prisoner in a high security prison point of view. You're going up on trial, you're admitting to doing it, but then you're saying, I take full responsibility, but I want the officers to take just as much as blame. So he's more or less saying he wants the officers to be on trial, and he's grassing the rapist up. You're not doing your credibility inside a prison any justice whatsoever. You're not wanting any justice, you're admitting to it, so what's the point in going there and causing your fucking life inside a prison a whole lot more difficult, because you're all going to be called a snitch. And the officers that you're trying to fucking get took to court yourself, because saying you take responsibility, but the screws are just as much to blame. Well, obviously the screws maybe have put you on there, knowing that you're going to attack someone, but you've went to the extremes and committed murder. So take it on the chin and do your jail, because you're going to get tortured off the screws now. When you get back, when you're in jail, the screws are going to torture you because you're trying to blame them, and the other inmates, whether or not you go back onto normal locations, are going to be questioning you and calling you a snitch. So what was the point in all of this? So Gadell said he had been taken into care at the age of 3 after his mother burned him with a kettle. He began selling drugs aged 11. He said that he was wrongly convicted of murdering a man in 2023, and that there was lots of evidence he never had a weapon during that attack. Jurors were told that prosecutors in that case could not identify which of the 3 men inflicted the fatal wound, but Gadell was sentenced on the basis that it was a joint attack and intended to kill. So it was obviously joint enterprise, all 3 of them, whether it was him or not that had the knife. Joint enterprise, the majority of people will know what it is. If 3 of you go to someone's door, just say, to give someone a good hiding, one of you has got the intention of murdering your head, maybe the other 2 haven't, they just come along for the ride, just for a bit of backup, but then you went on the doorstep, bludgeoned them to death, killed them. The other 2 that's with you get done with murder as well. As harsh as it is, all 3 get done with the murder, even though sometimes it's not as harsh as not going to someone's door. Even 3 people in the street bump into someone, one of you's kill them, all 3 of you's get done with murder. Joint enterprise is a very bad fucking law. And I'll leave that one for another time. But I don't know what has actually happened in that case, whether Gadell has tried to get out of it and tell the juries in that trial that it wasn't him and he didn't have the knife or whatever was used. I do not know. Gadell said the conviction had affected him immensely, telling jurors, when you get found guilty for a crime you haven't committed and you have to spend the rest of your life in prison, you have no hope, you have no future, all your hopes and dreams you have, throw them in the bin. He said he had been assaulted by other prisoners and prison officers since being in custody and had sometimes carried a weapon because it was necessary. Well, I'm just going to break down that little bit at the end. So, when he says the conviction had affected him immensely, when you get found guilty for a crime you haven't committed, you then commit loads of crimes in prison to make it look like it was you in the first place. Doesn't make sense. You then go and do a murder inside of prison so that you look innocent. If it was only in 2023, you probably would have been having rights to appeals ongoing. Lifers who appeal in the high security prisons, it goes on for decades. So you could have been fighting for the CCRC or whatever, but I don't know what's actually happened in that case. Anybody who's watching might be able to give us an insight. Let us know in the comments, because it looks a bit sus to me, all of that, especially when he's getting assaulted by other prisoners. And he says prison officers. Why is he getting assaulted by prisoners? Why is he in Wakefield? So we will find out in due course, I'd imagine. But the trial continues in that case, people, and I will keep you updated because it is very interesting, and you will probably not hear about this unless you're watching channels like myself. And like I say, I'm going to give you the rundown on what's happening throughout this trial. So that's both of them being in their witness box now. I'd imagine normally in cases like this, once the 2 defendants have given their statements in the dock, it then goes to the jury to decide whether it's guilty or not guilty. But I can tell you, for a matter of fact that the pair of them are going to get guilty. Dodsworth might not have gotten guilty, but Gadell has sealed his fate by saying he passed him the knife. So that's his responsibility. He's passed the knife to commit the murder, so then that's joint enterprise, because if he hadn't have given the knife, he wouldn't have been murdered with it. So there we go, people, but I'm going to leave that one there for now, people. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Take care, enjoy the rest of your day. Don't forget to comment, like and subscribe, but most importantly, people, stay safe.